Hello, I'm Druidsfire, and I am here with a slightly belated PAX East 2022 Roundup. Just going over a few thoughts about the event this year, how it differed from the last in-person PAX East, and just basically maybe talking about a little bit of the vibe and how it all turned out this year. So this year, 2022, in April 21st to 24th, Reed Pop and the usual crew behind PAX East invaded the Boston Convention Center again on the Boston waterfront. And it being April, the weather was pretty decent, as opposed to the times it had been in February where the weather wasn't. So this was the first in-person PAX East since the beginning of the pandemic. In fact, the pandemic was pretty much announced. COVID-19 was announced as a problem, anything, right during PAX East in 2020, I'm sorry. Getting my years wrong. That was the last major conference before everybody started shuttering things. And it's only been in hesitant leaps and bounds that other conventions are returning to in-person or hybrid events. Some, like BlizzCon, has already been a hybrid event like that even before the pandemic, but they haven't done it in person since then. So what we're looking at here is, let me show you some photos from PAX East, and I'll talk about how things were a little bit different. Firstly, we have this. This was the show floor Thursday, kind of like toward the tail end of press hour when people were first starting to get into the venue and, seeing exactly what was what. The protocols for getting in were very much different from 2020 in the before times. The lines were abysmally long, and it was basically because of anti-gun related, shooting related security measures with, metal detectors and the whole 9 yards. This year, it was very much different that everybody, they were obviously more concerned about vaccination status. PAX East 2022 was a fully vaxxed, fully masked event. You had to show proof of vaccination before you could get anywhere past the lobby. And you got a green wristband that did not leave your wrist the entire weekend if you were a smart person. Because they would just take a quick look at that wristband and then, wristband and badge, and then you were in. There was a lot less attention to detail on the part of the security staff to check bags or to check pockets, or very much relaxed security, more like it was the previous years before. I would say before the spate of active shootings in America, but they've never stopped. Let's be honest here. But let's get into the actual event. So this is kind of like a view of what the show floor looked like on like Thursday, the early day. This is like the day when the press had their press hour and stuff like that. And so the next thing we have is another view of the main thoroughfare going the length of the convention center. This again was on Thursday. And look at all that white space, right? I will make the joke about, toward the end, about, everybody remembers the infamous convention that had the ball pit. Well, PAX East, as far as I know, did not have a ball pit, but it did have a lot of empty space on the show floor. One of the things you may notice, this was pretty much as full as it got. This was a photo I took, I believe it was on either Saturday or Sunday. Sunday's typically like family day, is when the parents bring their kids into PAX, more commonly than not. But in this particular case, look at all that empty space between the booths. I mean, there was hardly, in terms of accessibility and being able to move about, and folks who might have social anxiety with feeling like they're in a sardine can, this was brilliant. This was awesome. This is the kind of amount of people that a lot of people would be comfortable with in this sort of situation. All pandemics aside, right? So being able to move about, being able to feel like you could, move quickly or move slowly. I mean, you still had the same usual folks who would just stop in the middle of their walking and you'd be like, running into them or trying not to run into them. And like the long ways down the convention center were all pretty wide, cutting, the horizontal slices. Sometimes those booths the paths between them were as wide as usual, but they had a lot of space they could have worked with on the convention show floor. Like, normally there's like a row of smaller booths on either side down the entire length of the convention center, pretty much. And those two big rows were not there. Like, you left the part that was enclosed, like, this is the show floor, these are the booths, and then there's, like, this big space between that and, like, the escalators going up to the food court or the escalators going up to the theaters on either side of the building. So, in terms of population, it was very much less full. One of the other big things that was different this year was there were hardly any massive developers on site. I mean, they had, like, a lot of the corporate sites were there, like Intel was there, Discord was there. But for example, if you go to east.paxsite.com and go to the actual, it says, thanks for attending, here's our post-mission log, and they have, like, an image fading out of what it looks like in a previous year. I would say that was probably a Thursday. And if you look at it, you can see, like, a big sign for Xbox. I don't recall them being there. They also had PlayStation in previous years. We had none of those big, like Square Enix, Blizzard, all the big brand is Bethesda, like, would normally rent out the comedy club attached to in the hotel, the attached hotel, the Westin. They would rent that out for a big presser with a bunch of games. Nope, not this year. I personally didn't see a lot about, off-site parties, which, in previous years where all the cool kids would have to feel like they'd have to be to network and, especially the Twitch partners and people wanting to be Twitch partners. Twitch had no presence beyond people wearing their purple hoodies. So, yeah. That's the downside for folks who want that sort of experience and want to, check out the new games from the big developers. But because they weren't there, that led to something far more interesting. The show floor was ruled by the indie developers. Like, the biggest single booth was Tiny Build, and they had this massive layout. The indie the indie studios were, like, doing massive business because the big guns weren't there. So it really was interesting in that PAX East was indies first. Simple as that. I mean, there were some big folks there, like the Baldurs Gate people were there. Gearbox did a big thing on the main theater, but it was pretty much a much toned back convention. And one thing I didn't see a lot of people bitching about the masking requirements. If they did, they didn't do it around me. I noticed there was a lot of folks who took their masks off the second they could get away with it. But as soon as they walked in the building, boom, masks on, and they did their business and took care of what they needed to take care of. So for my part at PAX East, I toured a bunch of indie games that seemed very interesting to me. I'll be posting videos for those on the channel, and you'll find them in this same playlist here on YouTube. They're not going up on Twitch because it's a pain in the butt. And that's more of a live stream thing, and this is more of a pre-recorded thing. So that's the general vibe. I have a list of the games I was looking at, and we'll go over that here in a minute. I was looking at things like The Last Order Crew, Elements, Pathless Woods, Calico, because you can't go wrong with a cat game, Dungeon Defenders Going Rogue, The Day We Fought Space. I might actually have a lot to say about that one because that game was interesting. Outshine, a game called Spider Hack. I'll have some things to say about that one. Potion Craft, and a game I discovered on, those are all like pre-arranged, like, got the press emails, reached out to the PR people and scheduled things. And then in the Tiny Build booth, I found this other game that was announced on site called Asterigos. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But I played that for a little bit, and in the videos about each game, I'm going to give you the links to where you can find them, any relevant dates about releases, or if they're already out in the wild, and what I thought about playing the game. A couple of them, I don't think I have any gameplay to offer you, but I can definitely point you to, most of them are all on Steam, so you can just look them up on Steam and see if they are a game that might fit your needs. When I went shopping for games, or what games I wanted to schedule for interviews with, I basically look for things that look like action-adventure, a little bit of cutesy, kind of like I'm still trying to find something that fits the hole left in my life by Landmark. For those who remember that game from Daybreak, that was a splinter of what was supposed to be EverQuest Next that never happened. I'm still missing that game. But I was just looking for something a little bit fun. In my previous press work, I mostly did stuff that were all MMOs, because that was the site I was working for, was an MMO branded site. And so this was me getting to, check out games I wouldn't normally have time to check out, because I'd be chasing the stories about the big guns in the MMO scene, or even the smaller ones that might have had a booth on the show floor. But I didn't really see much by way of MMOs at all. Let's see what else we did have at the show. As always, the silliness is there's always going to be a boat of dice. A unicorn boat of... Actually, it's an alicorn because it has wings. So it's an alicorn full of dice. And this is probably the worst place to be, because nobody sanitized those damn dice. I'm just saying, people were digging in those. And the thing is, they had 2 of those. Which is really funny, because at one point I was trying to meet up with my friend and boss, one of my 2 bosses, Professor Corey Olson of Signum University. He was there on site with his younger kid doing the PAX East thing, as you do. And he told me to go find the One Ring RPG set. He says, oh, it's over by the unicorn boat of dice. I looked all over around this one, and I couldn't find them. I finally realized, oh, they have 2 booths. Duh. One of the other things you'll see at any given PAX East is you're going to see cosplayers. Because, say it with me, chat. See, it's a Twitch habit. Say it with me, my friends. This is the way. Alright, it is a really good Mandalorian costume there. I almost said Boba Fett, and I would have been like, oh, you don't know Star Wars. I know Star Wars, I just misspoke. Please. I've been a fan of Wedge Tilly since the 80s. Anyway. And of course, you can't get to PAX East without visiting Fred the Mind Flayer. This was the Baldurs Gate booth, one of the bigger booths on the show floor. And, you could stop by the campfire, get your picture taken with Fred and other, folks in booth folks dressed up in costume. But Fred is always my favorite, as the Mind Flayer should be. And finally, I did fail my saving throw at the unicorn dice booth in the back, because this also is the way. However, I probably would have gotten away with just the set on the right, because those are, out of the 3, those are my favorite. Those are my colors. However, I didn't see those until I went to their original booth that I got lost at, and saw, oh, hey, you didn't have these at the other one. I better get these. So I failed my saving throw against buying more dice, because that's what you do at PAX East. So it was a good show, a good event. So next time, my next event's probably okay. My next actual event is going to be an online conference run by my friends at Signum University. I will be working that event, so it's not going to be. It's like an academic nerdy event more than anything else. When you get a bunch of Tolkien people and fantasy people and scholars, it's going to be awesome. But my next nerdy geek not working for real event is probably going to be Gen Con in Indianapolis, where I will probably once again fail my saving throw against buying new dice. So thank you for watching, and keep an eye out for the other videos, because I will be discussing each of the games I mentioned here, except the One Ring, because I didn't get it, because I didn't have $150 to buy the entire set. But the second edition looked interesting. So, yeah. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you somewhere on the channel in the comments. All right. You know the drill. Like and subscribe. I really hate asking people to like and subscribe to videos, because theoretically, if you're watching this, you already like my stuff and you've already subscribed to my channel. So, anyway, you know the drill. Be good. If you can't be good at it, and may all your dice be crits.